Hi, welcome back to MomCave Live. We're live. Hey, everybody.
Hi, we're in the flesh.
In the flesh. Our guest this week is a really cool one. This is Lenore. Say hello, Lenore.
Hi, Lenore. Put me on the screen, Google thing. Hello.
Welcome to the Google thing.
Yes.
If you haven't heard of Lenore, I'll give a quick summary. She was called the world's worst mom after letting her 9-year-old take the subway alone in New York City. That was 7 years ago, so he survived.
I remember this.
Do you? And then you wrote about it.
Right.
You wrote about it, and then everyone went nuts.
They did. Yeah.
So,
They're still a little nuts.
so you're kind of the founder of this movement called Free Range Kids. Am I correct?
I am indeed. I trademarked the phrase.
Good for you.
I regretted the trademark. Yeah.
You're smart.
Do you want to?
I was going to say, explain what that means, free-range kids.
Free-range kids are kids raised by parents who think they can do some things on their own, that the parents don't have to supervise their every move. That's really what it boils down.
It's kind of like an updated version of a latchkey kid, which I was.
Oh, you're a latchkey kid?
Yeah,
although you don't have to be a latchkey kid to be a free-range kid. The overarching idea of free-range kids is that our kids are not in constant danger, so we don't have to parent them as if they are. And it sounds like your mother understood that. Right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Not mine.
Not yours. Maybe she still doesn't. Right.
No, she hasn't. No, she still doesn't understand.
Would you
I'm
say
still
that's
free.
the opposite of helicopter parenting?
I feel like yes, it is. It's the antidote. I mean, I don't ever blame parents for being helicopter parents, because the whole idea is that when you have fear shoved down your throat every single second, you turn on the TV and there's Law and Order, SVU, and the kids are small and cute, and then there's, Bones and Criminal Minds and Dexter. Everybody's killing everybody, and then there's a zillion products on the market that you can monitor. Is your child breathing at night? Is your child, where is your child on the Marauders map? And are they eating the right foods? And have you read the right books? So no wonder parents are just terribly nervous all the time, and that turns them into helicopter parents. And all I'm saying is you don't have to be that way.
Not only that, but how things change all the time. Like, you're supposed to sleep on their back. No, they're supposed to sleep on their belly. You can't eat this. No, you're supposed to eat this.
They just discovered today, I was reading in the paper, that if you feed your kids peanuts and peanut butter, then they're less likely to have peanut allergies, which is exactly the opposite information that we were given, I'd say, 5 years ago. And germs turn out to be good for kids. And it turns out that eggs are not bad for cholesterol. I mean, it's like everything that you just sort of have to take exactly what I have to do. You have to take a breath.
I'm too busy. I can't keep up with all of that. So there's your kid. Hello. So actually, I saw online they make these watches if you take your kid to the park or.
Oh, look.
Oh, it's not your kid.
Sorry, they're supposed to be so self-sufficient. Can't you see? That's behind me. There. Sorry.
They make these watches now. If you take your kid to the park, and so if they get too far, like your watch will start going off, going ding 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 ding. So that then you
the kid.
I had not heard. I'll tell you the item that I've heard of that I feel is the end times. Here's evidence that the end times are upon us. It's also a watch, but it's a watch that clasps onto your kid, and the kid cannot get it off. It's like the ankle bracelet for the felon. And yes, it's a watch, but it's also a phone. But here's the nefarious part, and of course it's GPSing your kid at all seconds, because God forbid your kid should be off a map. But if you call your child and he doesn't pick up the phone within 10 seconds, the watch turns into a microphone. Right, so you can hear what the predator is saying. Oh, does he? Don't take his puppy. He didn't lose a puppy. Listen to your mother. So the idea is that, of course, anytime your child isn't delighted to answer you within 10 seconds, which we could count off here now, there must be something terribly wrong. Your child is in danger. You better find out. Why aren't you even with him? So you have to keep your child either physically or electronically 24/7, or your child is somehow in danger.
I'm really glad they didn't have that when I was a teenager.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Although they do have this thing now for college that is, have you heard of this one? It dings if your child does not show up at class. It's a GPS device that lets you know, oh, he's in Lindsley Chittenden Hall, then he must be in his English class. Everything's fine. Otherwise, you can immediately call. It's crazy.
That's a little much. I wouldn't want my mom knowing that.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things I say in lectures is, one of the questions I ask parents or whoever's there is, think back on your favorite childhood memory and tell me, was your mother right there?
Right.
Nobody says yes. Nobody says yes.
So were you always this way? Did you always have this philosophy, or did you have your first and then something happened and changed you?
Well, first of all, the way I was raised is free range, but so was everybody in my generation. We all walked to school when we were in kindergarten, and excuse me. And back then, the crossing guards were kids. I mean, that's like the age that the crossing guards are now are the age that some parents won't let them even walk to school. So it's not like we suddenly devolved. It's just that we used to be able to recognize that kids were growing up and becoming competent individuals as opposed to sort of fetuses until they go off to college. So it's the way I was raised. But I'm a reporter by trade, a newspaper reporter, still have a column. And so I feel like inside of me was definitely the belief that I want to meet strangers. You know, I think strangers are stories. I want to hear their stories. I want to meet the world. So that was like a little maybe different from some other people who would feel a little more reticent to meet people. I always wanted to meet strangers and travel.
Okay.
Did you grow up in New York City?
No, I grew up in the boring suburbs of Chicago, Wilmette, Illinois.
Oh, okay.
It's fine. Just
Do you have an opinion about the age of children, or is it kind of a phased-in approach for giving them a little bit more freedom of range? You know, like, is there any opinion about age? Because, wow, like in this day and age, I feel weird having my kid at kindergarten, you know, walk to school. Yeah. But, you know, what kind of opinions do you have about age?
Well, the interesting thing about age is that in the rest of the world, 7 is the age that everybody is walking to school. It's just, and you could say, oh, I would do that, but my kid is dreamy, or my kid is out of it, or my kid pays no attention. But somehow entire countries send every child to school at age 7, and in Japan it's 4 or 5. So it's, you know, to think that you have to wait beyond 7 is an unusual and culturally determined thing. But in terms of like what age can we let our kids do, I'm not saying that you have to let your 9-year-old ride the subway, because if you're not in New York City, you're not familiar with the subway, and neither are they. But I say crime today is lower than when we were growing up. Crime is back to the rate of 1963.
Definitely.
So if you don't think your mom was crazy to let you do X at age 6, you know, walk to the park, or at age 9, ride your bike to the library, at age 12, be a babysitter. If you don't think any of that stuff was crazy in that era, well, it's certainly no more crazy today. And so then all you have to do is you think your kid is as smart and as competent as you, and most of us think our kids are great. And so it can give you that little oomph, like, well, crime is the same, and children haven't suddenly de-evolved, so yeah, why not let them?
Yeah, I think it's very freeing. It's easier, you know, to let your child do some things for themselves.
Does your free-range parenting go across the board for everything? Like, for instance,
probably not.
What age would you let, if you have a daughter, get her ears pierced, or
I think you're going to say pregnant. Thank you.
A tattoo?
Oh, God. I have to say I don't have daughters. I'm knocking on wood. I have no idea. I'll tell you that I'm sitting here with my exchange student for the year from Italy, and he went and got his ears pierced, and I thought it was a terrible idea, but they're pierced. Right?
Yep.
There they are. And he did it at 16, 17, recently. And a tattoo, you know, that's not an age thing. That's a thing. You know, I would have the tattoo.
Well, I think being a free-range parent doesn't mean that you don't have authority. Like, you're not letting them go crazy. It's just what is age-appropriate freedom.
Right, and also it's what you feel. Like, people say, like, oh, do I have to let my kid do this? And it's like, you know, whether you let your kid walk to school at 8 or 10 doesn't really make a difference. To me, it's just recognizing that there's no reason that you must be next to them every single second, or that you're a bad parent or you're putting them in danger. So really, it's just, you know, how do you want to raise your kids after recognizing that they don't need constant supervision after a certain age? The way I sometimes phrase it is, we forget that our kids can do anything safely or successfully on their own. And once you realize that, the reason I was rushing in is I was just with these parents that I met back in October, and here it is, February. And in October, they still weren't, they have a 12-year-old boy and a 10-year-old girl, and they hired me to help them let go. And so all I did was basically I sat with them for the 45 minutes that I sent the kids to go to the grocery, which was 3 or 4 blocks away. And when the kids came home and they were happy and we all chinked our glasses with the cranberry juice they bought, that was a great moment. But what was really fun was tonight going back and seeing them again. I said, what are your kids doing now? 4 months later, they said, oh my God, you know, they're running to the store for us. They stop at the park. They play. Not right now because now it's freezing cold because it's a winter vortex that's never leaving us. But before the winter vortex came upon us, they were going to the park now and playing baseball. And I said, well, what changed? And they said, well, we see our kids as older. And I was like, yeah, because it's not that they're older. It's that they had this image of their children as babies who needed constant care and attention and supervision. And I said, I just had the kids go out so when they walked back through the door, having been out on their own, the parents could see them for who they really were.
I think really, especially with your first child, I guess you kind of always want them to be a baby, and it's hard to let go, so you get stuck.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
I will say from my own experience growing up, I do think that giving a little bit more freedom, even just little bits at a time, it does affect the child's self-esteem. I mean, maybe you see in the parents that you've worked with, when they're given a little more freedom, they feel a little bit better about themselves.
It works for both generations. It's really cool. So let me just talk about the TV show for a little bit. So on the TV show,
sure.
World's Worst Mom, and it's on Discovery Life on Wednesday mornings at 10 and 10:30 Eastern Time. The people that the production company found for me to visit, I'm like the super nanny, are extraordinarily anxious. And you're talking about still enjoying to see your kid as a baby. They really did. I mean, I met the first mom I dealt with, had a 10-year-old son, and she still spoon-fed him. Spoon-fed a 10-year-old in his mouth. He was so embarrassed. He was so embarrassed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was wild. and other families, like weird stuff, like one mom I met, and it's going to sound like all I dealt with was boys, but her son was 16 years old. He was 6'2". He still is 6'2". And I said, well, today he's going to take a subway downtown because he's 16 to see the college that he might want to be going to because he was a senior in high school. And the mother was furious, and she was on the phone and she was crying. She's going to put him on subway, and we're going to see him again. She was really, really upset. And she ran after him as he was leaving the house with an Elmo juice box.
What?
You know, juice box because she couldn't see him. She couldn't see him as anything. She felt like I was putting her toddler on the train. I mean, that's really how it felt to her. And if somebody was putting my toddler on the train, I'd be hysterical too. But then here's what was cool. So we got to college. We got to the college before we were supposed to meet him. So we were just wandering around for like half an hour beforehand. But he got there before we were supposed to meet him too. And so we saw him before he saw us. And he's 6'2", and he's wandering around campus, and he's surrounded by all these other gorgeous girls, and jocks, and great. And he looked like he belonged, and he was taller. And the mother was like, "That's him! That's Jalen! Look at Jalen!" And we were both so excited because suddenly, from the Elmo juice box boy, here was a college student. So as much as you love, holding this boy tight, it's embarrassing for him. It's demoralizing for him. And it is exhilarating to see him for who he really is. And so it gives everybody this jolt of joy. And I really keep saying that, like, all I did, like the parents tonight who were thanking me, is like, it's like, don't thank me. All I do is facilitate you being able to see who your kid really is. That's it.
That's awesome. I would think this would also, being so, whatever it is, helicoptery, would affect the marriage sometimes of the parents, because I've seen parents fight over this.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons, like, well, why would anybody have me over if they're a helicopter parent? But I had to have been invited by one member of the family each time, and the whole family had to agree to have me come for the TV show. But often it was tension between the husband and the wife. Sometimes the husband was just as afraid as the wife. And actually, in the family I met with tonight, the husband was more afraid. But generally, it was the wife was afraid, and sometimes the husband just gave up. It's like, I can't keep saying it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. One husband, the wife actually referred to her husband as the donor, as in, sperm. And she had never let him take. She had 5 kids. She'd never let him take the kids by himself. She just didn't trust him, and he was like, what am I? And clearly this is what she thought of him as, just this incompetent guy who gave her the sperm so that she could raise these lovely kids.
That sounds like a great marriage.
Yeah. Well, it got better. I have to say it got better. Because the guys want to be respected, and they want their worldview respected a little too. But if they're always being told, you don't care, the first family, the one where she spoon-fed the 10-year-old boy, the husband was saying, because it was a mixed family, it was a blended family, but he was saying, like, I think you got to let him grow up a little. And the wife was saying, I don't think you really care about him. I don't think you care enough. And so the excess attention and pampering that she's doing is what she considers love, and he considers love believing in the kid. And so I just try to get her over to see that it's not a lack of love to send your kid walking to school. That's not because you want them to get killed. It's because you believe they're going to be okay.
That's a great distinction, believing in the kid. I saw that episode. It was awesome.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one. With the guy he rides a bike?
Yeah.
Yeah. So can I tell you, so that was an episode where there's the first family again with the spoon feeding. And one of the things she hadn't done was let her 10-year-old learn how to ride a bike because she was afraid that of 2 things. First of all, that he would fall and hurt himself, but also she didn't want him to be frustrated. I mean, the idea that life should be a smoothie is sort of a new one, but that's what she really thought. She didn't want him to. I met another mom who thought that any kind of a kid had a bruise or a Band-Aid, like me, that there had been a negligent parent. And so you have to dial people back in that. So anyway, so I taught him, I gave him a bike. That was the big thing. I gave him a bike in this episode. And we actually stood and watched him as he kept screwing up. I mean, because, it's not easy the first time you ride a bike. But then he got the hang of it. And then the mother, we got back to the house. The boy is outside. The camera crew is outside. And the mom bursts through the door, and her mom is inside, the grandma. And she says, guess what, Mom? And the mother's like, what? The grandmother, she's Russian. What? And she goes, Sammy can ride a bike. And the grandmother goes, what? Our Sammy can ride a bike? And like, yes, they're dancing around because everyone wants their kid to be happy and competent and growing up and on a bike. But she just didn't have a way to get from I'm scared to yes, he's going to fall and yes, it's going to be okay. That's all. She got to see it. She was so fulfilled.
That's so awesome.
Cool.
We're almost out of time, and so I wish we could talk to you more because you have so many good stories.
Yeah, I feel like this is a therapy session for me. I feel like my whole life just went past around my eyes.
That means you're dying.
I need a break now.
Yeah. Well, before we go, I have to tell everybody about our giveaway this week. We're giving away pints and pints of ice cream delivered to your door. By the Adirondack Creamery. It's really yummy.
I tried that. That stuff is great.
Yeah. So there's a link to enter in the description. And make sure that you watch Lenore's show on Discovery Life on Wednesdays. It's World's Worst Mom, but you obviously are not the world's worst mom.
I'm not sure there's an actual ranking system.
Thank you so much for talking with us.
Oh, this was great.
Yes,
great to be in the cave.
Okay, thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye.